at the heart of a disaster.
Looking all over for you.
There's always the miracles where people live 2, 3, 4 days.
The rescuer.
So you just can't give up. Let's find them.
On a desperate search.
Find them, buddy.
I got nothing, honey.
The survivor.
I'm alone. I have nobody.
Facing a life in ruin.
I expect the worst and hope for the best.
The disaster chief.
California is probably one of the better prepared states for earthquakes and even fires than any state we have in the United States.
Okay, let's make the search.
It's all right, don't cry, we're okay.
2 days.
We have heard reports of looting.
And 2 nights after the earthquake.
You pick up the pieces and you move on.
Monday, the earth here rolled and Southern California rolled to a halt. We've spent the last 48 hours at the heart of this crisis. This scene back here is part of the quake's legacy. It's where Highway 14 dropped onto Interstate 5. It's now a heavily damaged freeway that's going to disrupt traffic for months. It is one aftershock that may even be felt well into next year. Others may be less visible, but no less devastating. Join us now as we meet the men and women who are in the fight of their lives, fighting to rebuild, fighting to recover. As you will see and hear, the true scope of this earthquake cannot be measured on the Richter scale. We begin at the quake's very core, the apartment where 16 people went to bed Sunday night and never lived to see the dawn.
There is no single place in Los Angeles where more lives were changed or more lives were lost than here.
See that right there? That's the first floor, that's the second floor, and there's no more first floor.
Dazed survivors, many of them the walking wounded, stumble out of the Northridge Meadows apartment building.
I was on the second floor.
Among them, Sheila Chulik.
The guy next to me is still missing. He's in number 259.
Everything we own, our car, everything's crushed. We're lucky to be alive. Thank you, God.
Others are not so lucky. Nobody knows how many are buried in the rubble.
Somebody in there?
It's the beginning of a long day. It will be hours before their families learn who lived and who died.
Oh, boy. What can I tell you? It happened. It was very bad. My whole window caved. Oh, Mama. Oh, Mama. And my son and my children. And my son and my children.
Looking all over for you.
Most of the people who live here are either elderly or college students, like Sheila Chulik.
Your clothes are in there?
Everything.
Your books?
This is it. Everything. This is all I own. Purse, thongs, and pajamas.
I'm not trying to embarrass you, but it doesn't look like you even have a belt.
No, I do not. I have a bungee cord holding up my pants because there are some man's pants that are too big for me. I mean, that's how nice people were. They were pulling over on the side of the road getting blankets and offering coffee, and I mean, they were just really good.
What is that, garage? No, it's apartment.
Others are helping in the dangerous ruins of Northridge Meadows.
Okay, come on this way. Tony, around here. Come on.
Greg Gonzalez and Errol Cobb are volunteers with the California Swiss Search Dog Association.
Good boy, find them.
The command sums up the searcher's goal and the dog's role.
Come on, find them.
Find anyone trapped in the building. Find them, dead or alive.
Just trying to get her into openings in the building and see if there's any human scent in there that would draw her in.
They search room by room.
Heck, here.
When they find somebody inside, the dog will begin scratching and barking.
As the day goes on, the only people found are dead, many killed in their own beds.
Come on, go to the left.
But Cobb, Gonzalez, and the dogs keep looking for survivors.
Where is he?
This is what they're up against. Since this building collapsed on itself, there are all sorts of tiny crawl spaces, like this one in here, that are just too narrow to be searched by a human being. A man can't get down in there, but a dog can. How do you feel about the way it went today? I mean, they kept finding body after body after body. Is that a failure?
Even finding people that have died in a disaster, it's part of the job. You want to find the survivors, but finding the people that have died it's something you do for the families.
Absolutely.
They need to know. It's better to know than not know.
Do you think that there's anybody alive in here now?
There's no way to know. There's no way of knowing. There's just no way of knowing.
Believe in miracles?
Absolutely.
I do. There's a lot of voids in these buildings.
Yeah, and that's all it takes is a little crack.
Yeah.
A little bit of air.
A little bit of air, a little bit of space for a person to survive. So there's always hope.
I just don't see how anybody else could be still alive in there, but they've been known to find them even up to 5 days after.
Sheila Chulik has spent the night at the home of friends. The night was frightening. She's a little shaky.
There were 2 or 3 pretty big aftershocks last night. Did you feel them?
Every single one of them. See, it feels like it's shaking right now, but I don't know if you can feel it.
It's not shaking.
I know, but it just feels like it.
And it's taking its toll.
When I contacted some friends and family last night, every time I talked to them, I'd start crying again.
What makes you cry now?
Knowing my neighbors are dead. Never thought all my belongings would wind up in a little bag. I know I'll never come back to that building to live. I mean, that's pretty obvious.
But little more than 24 hours after the quake, Sheila Chulik is going back.
It looks worse than it did yesterday.
To look for her belongings and to look for her friends.
Oh, man, Ellen, baby. They're okay. They're in Thousand Oaks, okay?
Thanks.
You're welcome.
Who's that?
That was my neighbor's friends. My neighbors got out with me, and that was that he was been looking for them ever since yesterday. So we just told him that they're okay.
So you got to give somebody some good news.
Yes, I felt good for a change.
As things stand now, how dangerous is that building?
In varying degrees. This building right here is extremely dangerous.
The north.
You go in this building, and a sneeze can bring this building down.
I have a car under there that might be okay. A $15,000 car.
Sheila and her neighbors are not yet being allowed in their apartments. They may never be allowed back in.
So we just stand here and wait?
Yep, you just wait. They're running your life right now.
And if they are, it will be only once to take what they can in just a few minutes.
I can't grab any furniture or anything like that.
You sort of have to reduce your life to a 10-minute grab.
To a gunny sack.
Carry.
Yeah, exactly.
How do you do that?
I don't know. I'm going to freak out when I go in there. I'm going to be like, what do I do? What do I do? I've never had to do this before.
When this is over, months from now, maybe a year from now, what do you think you're going to remember the most? What's the most powerful image in your mind?
The furniture smashing my face, and hearing those voices of the men that were stuck between the floors.
What were they?
Yelling for help, telling us not to forget them. And we kept saying we weren't going to forget them, and we were waiting to get the fire people there. I think that's going to be etched forever. Just hearing those voices, these men were just, you couldn't see them, but you could hear them, and parts of them were sticking up between the floors and between the concrete. You can't hear that kind of stuff and not be changed by it, you know? The voices and how they sounded, it was just a terrible experience.
Aaron Neville and...
Look, it's Bruno Kirby.
Tonight.
Only on Eye to Eye, behind the scenes with Nancy Kerrigan as she battles back for the gold. An exclusive interview with Nancy and her family about the scandal.
Would you say that Tanya Harding and you are different kinds of people?
Also, what really happened to Amelia Earhart?
I think Amelia Earhart was a spy.
Eye to Eye, Thursday.
We're over another area here above Sylmar where at least 20 mobile homes are fully engulfed in flames.
All the walls and our apartment building fell down.
In the city of Sylmar, what the quake started.
I just kept laying there and thinking, you know, it's going to stop in a minute, it's going to stop, and it just kept going.
Fire finished.
No water. Smoke and fire. Oh.
They burn real good. Mobile homes.
Those things went up like matchboxes, and they were too close together.
I live in a mobile home, but I don't have one left.
It's pretty
Our
sad.
places are gone. It looks like somebody dropped napalm on the whole area.
Yeah.
It was pitch black. Then I got up in my wheelchair.
By 4 o'clock in the afternoon, Richard Barker had packed up his family.
Because there wasn't a wall in the apartment that
like
wasn't broken, just caved in.
And was on his way to a shelter.
We don't have any place to go back to. There is no place to go back to.
I got nothing, honey. I ain't got nothing, baby. Not a thing.
74-year-old Poppy Weisberg had nothing to pack.
But I found a penny here, so I do have something.
She is among the 350 people who moved into Sylmar High School. Many of them refugees from mobile home parks.
Everybody has to register over there, so we know who you are.
I'm here. I'm alone. I have nobody.
Everything else is down the line.
Okay, thank you.
30 years ago, Poppy Weisberg was a professional dancer.
I was Poppy Lamar.
And toured with the USO.
All over the world.
But to the Red Cross, she is just another lady in a bathrobe in need of food and a bed.
It's many years. It's gone bye-bye. And it's hard for me to take.
Now, almost 24 hours after the quake,
Just take it slow, okay? We have plenty of time.
she is beginning to realize all that was lost.
Well, you always want to grab a few things that you think you need. And to me, a handbag is very important. It makes you think. Now, I don't have any pictures and nothing.
Her greatest loss?
They were great cats.
Her two closest companions.
Lived on my porch. Never bothered anybody. They had special okay to live on my porch. But they're gonna come back, and there's no porch, there's no steps. This is my boudoir, that's right.
What do you think of it?
Well, I got news for you. It's better than nothing, really. It could be worse.
Corpus Christi High School and Pacific Palisades is closed tomorrow.
The numbers of homeless continue to rise. 2 miles away, a gas leak sets off another fire. And yet another mobile home owner, Bob DeHart,
That's everything we own.
watches his house go up in flames.
I can't believe it.
Early morning at the shelter. What would you normally be doing at this time and if you weren't sitting here?
Oh, normally, start to read the paper. First thing in my horoscope, go see what's for the day.
Instead, it's a day for picking up the pieces.
Where are we going from here? How much rebuilding? How much insurance covers?
You see, I'm still trying to be independent, but I'm thinking, where do I start?
Poppy starts with a trip back.
Okay, let's go.
Back home.
Margaret and Bud, I'll see you later. Okay. If you want to go through the park, we can, but here's my porch, the planters.
Do you want to get out?
Look at the big planters out there. No. It was a big home. It was a good home.
She's looking for her cats.
Where the heck you been?
Did you find your kitties yet? And any belongings.
Oh, I'll find a couple of my kitties that was in my collection. And all my scrapbooks and other pictures were in there.
Poppy Weisberg may be able to start over.
There's some film cans right there.
The days of Poppy Lamar are completely gone. Oh, Poppy, I wouldn't.
Yeah, see?
You don't want to lean on anybody, do you?
No. That's kind of dumb to feel that way, but It's not my cup of tea. You see, you can't help but want to go through the rubble. You think you might find something.
It's time to go back to the shelter. How long do you think you'll be here then? Do you have any idea?
It's beginning to get a feeling of hopelessness now. We survived it, and now we're going to wonder how we're going to survive this.
I've never been in a disaster like this. I never have. So like I say, you don't know what it is until it hits you, you know?
Well, right now I'm in Van Nuys, which is the city just south of Sylmar, and I feel like I'm in the middle of a refugee camp. I don't know what else to call it. This is not an official shelter. This is just a city park, but if you can look behind me, you'll see that there are people camping out. They're living in their cars. And what I think is interesting is that most of these people are not homeless. They actually have homes, but as long as these aftershocks continue, and they've been continuing during this entire 48 hours, they plan on staying here. And also there's another interesting point. They're too afraid to go home because many of them are from Central America. They are used to earthquakes. They know how devastating it can be. They're used to substandard housing codes, and they don't trust the codes here. Dan?
Aaron, how many people are out there tonight?
Well, last night there were about 300 people, but the officials here are concerned there may be even more tonight because, as you know, Dan, there was what they called an aftershock. I would call it much more like a quake, 5.1 on the Richter scale this afternoon, so they're expecting more people to come out here. They're just too afraid to go home.
Incredible. How long do officials think that the people will stay out there?
Well, right now, these aftershocks have been continuing for 48 hours. They may continue for 2 weeks, so it's very possible people can be out here for 2 weeks. And this is no picnic, even though tonight they have fires and they're living in tents. There's no running water. Sometimes the church donates water to drink, but they can't brush their teeth. They can't take showers. So it will be a very long 2 weeks if they stay out that long. Okay, Dan.
Aaron Moriarty, thanks. Well, as we've seen, and you've seen and heard here, this construction is underway. Recovering from this kind of destruction will take a long time. In a moment, you'll see why the road to recovery may be bumper to bumper. On Highway 14 carried 130,000 cars a day. Monday morning, all that changed. Not just here, but all around Los Angeles. Because this week, for millions of Californians, life in the fast lane suddenly stopped.
The legendary LA freeways. What's wrong with this picture?
Check that traffic on KIMA.
Freeway's just devastated. Still a complete mess. It's been a nightmare.
The freeway system that usually carries some 5 million cars daily is a mess.
Your best estimate, your best guess as to when traffic in and around Los Angeles gets back to anything approaching normal.
The man who has to worry about all the damage is Freeway System Director Jerry Baxter.
Well, we're estimating about 12 months to get those bridges back in.
I'm Tom Sermon.
I'm Tom Huell.
KNX radio announcer Tom Huell is a Los Angeles commuter.
8-hour continuing post-earthquake coverage continues now with another look at the freeways.
And now he faces hitting the road home.
Hang in there.
Not knowing what's open and what's shut. In order to identify Tom's car, we asked him to mark it.
Well, that's not too even, but I think it gets the message said. Okay, we're gone. This time of day it would take me about 35 minutes.
We'll see how he does today.
This is our mass transit. This is what carries the bulk of the commuting population in Los Angeles.
So far, so good.
This is about normal for this time of day.
So far. On a normal day, he's 15 minutes from home. Just wait until he has to get off the freeway.
5 is closed. The alternate State Route 14, which is another freeway, is also closed.
A critical intersection. The collapse has shut down 2 major highways here.
You can see where the road just isn't there anymore. There's a crane working right where the chunk fell down.
What's interesting about the collapse, it is not the first time that an earthquake of this size toppled this same section.
In
1971, you had an earthquake while that was under construction, right? Then it was rebuilt after the 1971 quake. Now it's down again with an earthquake. And looking back on it, did you make a mistake by not rebuilding it strong enough the first time?
No, it was rebuilt, redesigned in 71 to the 71 standards. But it did not have the column strengthening that we're putting in the retrofit program.
We didn't have the information that we do now, so part of it is excusable, you might say.
Structural engineer and critic John Cariotis.
But then what happened is we've known for a long time that these things are disasters, and they're going to be disasters. So what we could have done, or what should have been done, is something more like what we've been doing in buildings, having active earthquake hazard reduction programs. And in my opinion, that's where the effort should have gone. It should have gone after 1971.
Is it a case, or is it not, that they've been more interested in building new roads, putting down new concrete, than shoring up for earthquake protection what they already had?